welcome to my channel. My name is Lisa Alistway, and on this channel, you will find a variety of inspirational and informational videos. My guest today is Mirjam Janse, who is an accredited healer, clairvoyant, claircognizant, transformational coach, inspirational speaker, and visual artist. Mirjam graduated cum laude from the School of Intuition and Healing in London and is an accredited coach at ITIP, Institute of Applied Integral Psychology. Mirjam inspires and guides others to discover who they are by recognizing their soul's intention. I will be linking her website and YouTube channel, which focuses on healing and awareness, down in the description box. Welcome, Mirjam.
Thank you so very much. It's such a joy to be connected to Texas.
Yes, it's such a joy for me too. I started watching your channel about a year ago. I don't know how it popped up on my YouTube channel, but I find it very comforting for these times. And I really encourage others to check out your channel because you've got some really good stuff on there.
Thank you. I try to be brief in all my videos so that people can take it in, digest it, take their time. I mean, I can make an expose that takes an hour and a half, but it's something else. So I like to, what I call put heart in people. So when they have just one thought that keeps them going on, feeling less isolated, feeling less depressed, or let the negative thoughts not get into their system too much, then I'm already very happy that I'm able to do that.
I think it's very effective because it's short, sweet, to the point, and people's attention spans are not really long lasting. So I think it's really good. So go ahead.
No, go.
So that kind of kicks off my first question about being a transformational coach and what really drew you to do this type of work.
Well, that's absolutely something that has to do with an inner calling. And I think I've had my gifts already when I was a child. I was born with it, and it certainly had to do something with my destiny. But of course, as a child, it takes you some time to find out what your gifts are and why you definitely need to develop them. And then what's the meaning of having gifts? What are you supposed to do with it? But the funny thing is that I seem to attract a lot of people who have gifts, and are not aware of it, and have blockages in their energy system, which makes it hard for them to realize that they are gifted, that they're highly sensitive, or they can hear really well, or be empathic in a different way. They can have healing hands, things like that, and they don't realize it. And that's really something that I like to do, is help them or assist them in taking out the blockages so they can free themselves and say, oh, wow, wait a minute, I got some gifts here, let's work with it. Because that's what I found out over the years, that your soul, let's say the thing that made you an inhabited body, a human body. Yeah, maybe my expressions are a little bit Dutch. But you go with it, and if you have questions, you just ask the questions. But if you listen to your inner calling, it makes you happier. So I see people discover that they have gifts, or that they recognize it in others, even in their children, for instance, and it makes them happier. So you have more strength, you have more health, you can last longer, you're stronger, also in doing any job you do. So to me, it's quite important to have listened to my inner calling. And of course, I mean, it had to go with illnesses and frustration and oh my gosh. But in the end, it was, I'm glad I made the change. And I went for it. So yeah.
Yes. So one of these gifts that you talk about a lot is intuition. And I know you are very high in your intuition abilities, and you try to help and teach people to get in touch with their own intuition and not to suppress it and deny it. How do you help your clients with that?
Whoa, that covers a lot.
Let's go. I got time.
You know, it's like you started doing your videos. So there was intuitive knowing that you had to do something with your ability to be like working with media, social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, everyone is intuitive. Everyone. Yes. You cannot live without intuition. I worked for the stock exchange, believe it or not. But as an artist, I didn't do any business. But I talked a lot to the people who were brokers, traders, whatever, and said, where do you base your decisions on? And it's always intuition. But they don't call it intuition. They don't name it intuition. That makes it a little bit hard to start a conversation about it, but say, but I feel intuitive that you are very well at so-and-so. And they say, how do you know? Of course, that's beautiful, but it gave me working for some banks and the option exchange in Amsterdam, and also I've been to Wall Street and Chicago, the mercantile, just to see what was happening, what made people tick, and it was very interesting.
So this last year has been extra challenging and difficult. Actually, the last 2 years with yes. COVID and restrictions and uncertainty, and people have gone through a whole host of emotions and feelings, whether it's anxiety, depression, stress, fear, you name it. And so what would you give as far as maybe some encouraging advice as we move into the new year?
Well, the thing is that there's also another side to the coin. So we went through a lot of, can I say that? Here on all levels. I mean, it has been very confrontational for a lot of people. But there is another side to the coin, and the other side is enlightenment. So one thing comes with the other. And of course, that might sound a little bit weird when you're taken over by fear. So when you feel fearful, it will be hard to feel that there is something else going on as well. Mm-hmm. So I would advise people in the first place to admit that they feel fearful. Then you can look at what blocks you in letting fear transform in observation. So when you're able to, I fear illness of hospitals or loss or whatever, I say, okay, I watch myself having these fears, right? Mm-hmm. Then you get into another state of awareness, and then you can make it easier for yourself to kind of notice where the blocks are. Are you really very afraid that you're losing contact with your family members? Are you so afraid of becoming ill? Or what is the fear? And what I found out that with a lot of people, their fears are connected to pains in the beginning of their lives, not about the situation right now. Mm. So getting to know you and your fear is a very fast track towards getting to know you from your source. And that, to me, is a very important thing to work on as well, because it will shock you. When you find out, whoa, I've always been afraid that my mother would leave me and not pick me up from school, right? Something like that. Can be very small, but that fear is in your cellular memory, in your body, and it's all triggered by this cloud of fear that we are living in right now, which is like too much for a lot of people, because there's no moment to relax. There's no moment where you can say, oh, let's breathe and have a day of rest. Let's step out of it. No, we cannot step out of it. We're forced to face it. We're forced to be in it. And if you see it as an opportunity to get to know yourself really well, and free yourself from all kinds of fears that have been directing you and limiting you throughout your life, then you're in such a much better place in the end. But it takes courage, it takes time, you need support, so you don't need to face it, you shouldn't face it by yourself only. So find like-minded people or find a supporter like me, find someone who helps you get some clarity on where the details are. And the funny thing of this whole COVID situation is also that it goes beyond our lives. And I'm sure you know that this whole thing started ages ago, right? This has its roots in like agendas that are date from a long time ago. So when you realize that, to say, okay, we have two tracks that I need to work on. One is the track of my physical life, my physical family, and my physical ancestors, and all the things that they experienced are still playing a role in my life. And I have my my timeline also with my soul groups. So why did I come into this body at this time on earth to be a participant in the transformation? Whoa. You know, and to me that's fascinating. As long as you need a bit of company, you need a bit of health, you need a bit of conversation, communication with others. They're basic things: fresh air, good food, things like that. But beside that, it is a most fascinating time to live in.
Most definitely. And I love that you help people appreciate and discover who they are. And I know with like the lockdown, it did give us an opportunity to lock down with ourselves. And so that brings me to my next question. How do you help people get in touch with their real self and not their false self?
It depends on the person very much, because everyone has been wearing masks. Me too. I mean, we all do. And I'm sure you've met so many interesting people already with your interviews that they know about masks. A lot of people wear a mask because they were told to wear a mask. Mm. So a lot of issues have to do with your upbringing, that's for sure. And I see that a lot of people are, let's say, a bit blocked by either opinions of others, expectations from church, religion, I must say, schooling, or let's say the community where you were brought up in. That has a big influence as well. So also the country where you live in. And
your parents? Your parents?
Yes, oh, definitely. And they are the kind of like, how do you say that? You have a pass through. Oh yeah, I remember that a long time ago, I was looking for that word in English as well. That's funny. That's a funny thing. So the memory of me looking for the word pops up instead of the word. That's how it works. That's how it works. But of course, I mean, you have to take all these things in account to make yourself familiar with the masks that you picked up, and you were used to wear them, and just, you know, you cannot take them off all in once. So you need time. Also, you need to be able to love yourself, and a lot of people are not allowed to love themselves or really appreciate themselves. Let's say respect themselves, because if you know how to respect yourself, it's very easy to respect anyone else, even if they think so differently from you. To me, the biggest challenge I see people face is not step into shame, guilt, or revenge. So those are traps, right? So when you step into that, then you're blocked again.
Yeah.
You cannot feel that there is so much support from outer worlds, or let's say other realities, light, that is supporting us in going through this whole process.
Yes, those negative feelings, even though there's a place for anger and all that, but like
Of
the hate,
course,
the
of course.
jealousy and so on,
Yes.
it could be very low energy that you're bringing to yourself. So I think, you know, this period that we just went through really provided a reflection for a lot of people, because maybe they needed to, you know, revisit and look at the relationships that they were spending their time with, and people might
Yes.
have reevaluated their friendships and figured out which ones actually brought you light and which ones brought you down and drained you and was too much toxic and drama, and just let those things go and find more like-minded people.
Yes, exactly. And it feels like you were like kind of betraying the friends that you let go, right? It can feel like I cannot let them go because they've always been so nice. But when you realize that they're consuming or stealing your energy, you have to let them go. So you can say, but I have to be nice to others. But when it means that you're less nice to yourself, it's a no-go. So when it takes something from you and it doesn't give you anything, it's immediately an intuitive signal that you say, it doesn't feel right. But taking that serious is taking yourself serious without understanding everything. And we live in such a mental world that we need to understand everything. We have to number everything. We have to be able to write it down, share, communicate. No, there are many things that are just overwhelmingly sensational. And that's with the we had some really beautiful days in the last few months, as well as the restrictions getting like that.
Yeah.
At the same time, there were moments where you could have dreams that were like lucid, or you could have sensations that your body suddenly felt lighter, or that you suddenly feel attracted to something I never thought about, but I really like that, or I like the taste of that, or I like that company. That's something new. And that are the surprises that the cosmos puts on your path as well. And, you know, again, the main thing to do is to be able to observe yourself and observe others. And that takes time. And that's absolutely something that came with this whole crisis, got more time.
Yes. And I've noticed with myself, like even of observing others, not taking things personally, because they're on their own path, they're dealing with their own things. And I don't want to, like, you know, integrate it and affect my mood. So I just let them be. So I think that that's really key, is also have not only awareness for yourself, but awareness of others, and not taking it personally.
Yeah. But, and I mean, there will be situations where you feel really under attack.
Yes.
Like, when your past is really manifesting itself into an angry parent or an upset family member, or even the boss of your company that you work for. So that can be so confronting that you really start doubting yourself. And then observing what is happening and being able to observe the emotions of someone else. So the reasons why they get so emotional is a very good step towards becoming aware of what your next step is going to be. So it's a learning curve. And at the same time, I don't like learning.
Well, I mean, anytime we go through like setbacks or dark times, it is an opportunity to learn. And I think perception is everything. And I know I've learned a lot through dark times. So it's not always negative or bad. And I know soul work is very hard and challenging. And a lot of people don't want to face it, because you have to face yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. And you can't abandon yourself. And I see a lot of people abandoning themselves by addictions, whether it's alcohol, drugs, overeating, all kinds of things where they're not respecting their health and their being, and it's really blocking them. What would
Yes.
you say if somebody's really kind of struggling with that?
Well, I studied it coincidentally because I was kind of fascinated by addiction. And it turns out that every addiction is connected to a demon, not like a ghost or a vampire or anything, but it's such a dense energy that it almost becomes a demon. It turns out that every chakra is connected to a certain demon. I can show you.
Okay.
Every chakra has a certain tendency to attract an addiction. But it's also in your genes. I mean, if your whole family has been drinking a lot, then it's very hard to not start drinking.
Right.
Because it's a weakness that's built in. So some people have a gene to attract cancer and some others don't. So they're, and now with this whole situation that we're in, some people are very affected by whatever they take and some are not. So it's also, what are your fundamentals? What's been in your system anyway, in the first place? So if I look at alcohol, it's your second chakra. So if you don't value, and the second chakra is also connected to your throat, which is your fifth.
Oh, okay.
But it's very much has to do with self-value. So if you don't value yourself and you don't want to face it, you start drinking. So you numb yourself not to feel anything, not to have to express yourself. And that's indeed the second chakra, so your lower body, is connected to your fifth. But I explained that in, I don't know whether I explained it in a video, but your self-awareness is something that is basic. It's a basic value. It's in your lower body. So every time you go up from the third, the fourth, the fifth, and we are opening up so many more chakras on above our head, below our feet, and in our whole aura, that it's going to be fascinating to really work with it. That's, I can tell you that. It's really, I'm looking forward to work with it. But when, when a fetus is developed, the second chakra and the fifth, so throat and the lower belly, are developed at the same moment. I'm not a specialist in these kind of things, but I know that the second and the fifth chakra have a very strong connection. So you could say your self-value in your lower body has very much to do with basic needs. As a child, you need to be nourished, you need to be safe, you need to be warm, things like that. But when you get to your higher part of your body, say the higher chakras, you say, but I need to express myself, I need to be able to love myself, and I need to be allowed to love others. I need to be able to communicate the way I want to communicate. I want to look, I want to smell, I want to hear, I want to taste, whatever really helps me being the higher me. So, and especially if you get to your crown chakra, of course, I mean, there's an addiction there too, because you can get addicted to spiritual work, which I found very interesting. But I want to say first that if you have a tendency to be an alcoholic, it also means that you have difficulty expressing yourself and talking about yourself in a respectful way. Which is say, I might not know this so well, I might fail at doing so and so, I might not have done a good job, but I still evaluate myself. I validate myself. How do you say that? I value myself.
So that's really interesting. And I know sometimes when people, like you said, they can't find the words, their throat chakra, it's like stuck there. They can't articulate out what they need to say. And that is a real sign that maybe you need to work on that.
Yes.
Let me go back to that point. You were saying that spiritual work can be addicting. What is that all about? And why do people get stuck in this spiritual work?
Well, it might be in your genes as well. It might be in your let's say if you're born with an inner calling to look for other dimensions and connection with ETs or whatever, you say, okay, but there's so much more, I need to get into it. But if you then only read all the stories instead of incorporating it and getting a, let's say, body awareness of the communication with other energies, then it's an addiction. And I know people, I mean, I've done yoga for years and I loved it. And there was one guy and I thought, why are you still here? And he was looking the same. He did the same exercises for like 10, 15 years. And he didn't gain any consciousness. He wasn't looking any more peaceful or wise or whatever. What is this? And so I talked to the teacher about this. I said, this is puzzling me. What's happening with this guy? And she said, well, yeah, you can do all the exercises. Like you can read all the spiritual books and you can join as many workshops as you like. But if you don't let it get into your whole system, when you don't integrate it and let it really sink in, so you become one with it, it doesn't do anything. But that's the trouble with, I have had many discussions with people saying, we have to go for love and light. And then I would say, no, we have to go for the shadow. No, Mirjam, we cannot go for the shadow. We have to go for love and light. I said, no, the shadow is there to make you aware of the love and the light. So we have to work with the shadows in ourselves, outside ourselves, to be able to embrace all that light and love bring us. We need the shadows.
Most definitely. And I know your field has lots of different people with lots of different abilities. I think as clients and consumers need to make sure that you're going to somebody that really knows what they're doing and knows what they're talking about, because there's a lot of, I don't know, fake gurus out there, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but that's, that's in every area. We have a lot of fake politicians. We have a lot of fake food producers. We have a lot of fake whatevers. So it's everywhere. But the thing is that people expect a spiritual healer or a shaman to be enlightened. And being one doesn't mean being the other. So it definitely is something that you have to research, but there again, intuition is very important. Because you intuitively know I'm with the right person. And happily, I experienced that several times, that people came to me and said, I've been to so many people, but somehow I want to stay with you here and do the work. And that's that is nice, and it's not something that that I plan, right? I'm depending on the people that come to see me. It's up to them to feel the connection. I mean, I'm present, I'm available, I can work with them if they allow me to, but they can never force anything. It's depending on them.
Right. Right, that's a good point.
But if you are sometimes even panicking enough, that helps to become intuitive as well. If, let's say, your house is on fire, you immediately know where the door is and that you have to run out, right?
Yes.
And that goes on a spiritual level also. So if you feel that there are energies around you that really shouldn't be there because they're feeding themselves on your energy, then you know you have to do something. Right?
Yep.
Unless, and that was the fun that studying in England, there were so many haunted houses and castles you could go to, seances and things like that, which is not so Dutch. So it's not so common in Holland.
Interesting.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about 5D. That's something I've had to look up recently. Can you kind of break down what 3D is, 4D, and then what 5D is?
You really prepared your questions well. Well, it's interesting to say, because I don't feel like there are boundaries between one and the other.
Okay.
So I cannot be in a fifth dimension without being in the third.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a leftover of.
No worries, no worries.
Well, so to me, there are moments in which you can enter higher dimensions just by breathing, by being present. Because all these dimensions are already here. There's nothing that you have to go get. It's available. It's you allowing your physical and the boundaries of your emotional and your etheric and your causal body to dissolve and become part of a higher dimension. What of course, there are restrictions, or let's say a beautiful list that you can find on the internet. 3D is this and 5D is that. I mean, I don't have to go into that. But the beauty is that we are now motivated and triggered to step into 5D awareness by indeed opening up a new chakra in our chest that has to do with this universal love instead of a personal love. It is you loving everything and allowing everything to be part of the respect it pays to you. So you become one with your surroundings in a loving state. And that's different from a 3D love.
Mm.
And I mean, and that's maybe the difference is also like, people that say, okay, I want to help the world, I want to really do something, I'll travel to Africa, I'm going to help the poor people there. But say, okay, that's 3D. And it can have something to do with an addiction in their system, right?
Yep.
Might even be a spiritual addiction, but can also be like, I can only validate myself enough when I help others. Well, then it doesn't come from an inner balance. And what I'm talking about is when you're in 5D, you talk from an inner balance. You express yourself from an inner balance. And it will be easier to observe others and yourself when you're in the fifth dimension. But then intuition takes over. Well, it doesn't take over. Let's say it nourishes everything you do. Every decision you have to take, you will feel you're supported by your intuition. And, all this cognizant and audient and whatever that were given to me was something that I had to discover as well. But it's all higher intuition. It all is part of already being given a connection to 5D.
Interesting. So I just look at the world and where we're at now and how we interact and the detachment and the social media. It feels very 3D all the time, all around. It seems like everybody's operating at a low level energy. Not to say that there are people already pushed for 5D. Where do you see us? How do we get more people into the 5D?
Why would you like to have everyone in 5D?
The joy and fulfillment is?
Say that again, because you
isn't 5D where the joy and fulfillment is?
Is it?
That's what I read. I could be wrong.
I must say I really appreciate a good dinner or a good quality wine. Is that then 3D or 5D?
I would say that's 5D.
but my stomach is quite 3D.
Yeah. See, this is where it gets confusing.
Yes. And that's why I say you can be in 3D and 5D at the same time.
Okay.
And when you then observe yourself, and it can be a split second. So, whoa, I feel so good with this company around this table, having this great food, this great conversation. It's inspiring me on all my levels. My stomach is happy. My conversation makes me happy. My being with these people makes my energy field happy. I'm contributing to being happy with others. That causes an energy and an enlightenment that goes to others and inspires others as well. So I'm in 7D and 9D as well. Whoa. But it cannot happen without 3D.
Oh, okay. I get it now. But what about when it's like a bad time, a dark time? You know, it's easy to go back to 2D, 1D probably, and experience that.
Well, the funny thing is, of course, you say in 3D we have time. In 5D you said there's no time and place anymore. And you can,
okay.
I think a lot of people will already experience, like in a split second, you suddenly feel like you're ageless and there's no horizon anymore and there's just space, right? Okay. And it can happen when you're taking a shower or making love or whatever. It can be a moment where your ego dissolves. And then you're time and spaceless. And you are 5D. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You know? So, and being in the other dimension has very much to do with allowing your vibration to become higher. So the more you practice being 3D and 5D and 7 and 8 and 9, the higher your vibration becomes, so the easier it becomes to connect to the higher vibration in nature, in people, in the spiritual, like say the libraries that are in the cosmos that you can get all your knowledge from that you need. And that helps you to just move on. But 3D, we have to kind of respect and be grateful for 3D because it gives us an opportunity. It's a gateway to getting to the other dimensions. So we can die and get back to the other dimension in no time. I mean, no problem. But we chose to be in 3D to be able to transform 3D into the higher dimensions as well. Higher dimensions. Okay. Taking 3D with us.
Yes. So a key element here is being present, right? You have to really be present to ascend to the next dimension. Because if you're not present, if you're stuck in the past, thinking in the past, you're never going to like ascend.
But the funny thing is that some people can ascend just like that. It does happen, but not that often. And it happens more and more often. And it goes faster. So everyone who says, okay, I'm ready, I'm a receiving mode, I'm allowing inspiration to come to me and touch me wherever it needs to touch me, it goes faster. But it means that you have to, well, prepare yourself by living a little bit healthy. That's true. So avoid poison in any way. And then be present to receive, indeed. My last 2 videos were about presence.
Yes, yes, they're very good.
Yes. And indeed, you know, you have to be there in 3D for your guides, the inspiration, God, whatever, energy, how you call it, to get to you. And I've experienced that several times also, that, you know, I was in trouble. I was really in trouble. And then something made me turn around and walk away from falling.
What was that something?
Oh, it happened several times, and it turns out that it happens, especially to people who have come here on this earth plane to be of help, of assistance to others. They experience near-death moments. And I once was really challenged. I was threatened by someone, and it got like dangerous. Let's say I feared for my life, without going too much into detail. But the funny thing is, I thought, okay, now I have to walk away or get away from this space. It was in a room. I need to get away. Just stand up, walk out, and see. And then you're still afraid that they're gonna attack you in the back or whatever. Mm. No, walk, and then be really present in that walking away. Totally panicking.
Yeah.
And I walked away, and then something hit me, a light hit me, and that's the only way I can describe it. And I suddenly started laughing. I go, laughing? So yeah, how on earth did I get myself in this crazy situation? And I had to laugh about it. So this is, wow, Mirjam, you really organized a very beautiful experience here.
Wow. So it's like they talk about the gift of fear and how you can harness that. It's not always bad. It's a signal, like you said, that prompts you to do what you need to do. And
exactly. But a continuation of fear, and that's the trouble with traumas, that it leaves an imprint on your cells. So the memory is always there, and it only needs to be triggered. And it's now triggered for 2 years. Again and again and again and again and again. So you really have to have the courage to get aware of that and say, okay, I want to gain some consciousness about who I really am in this. If I have to clear out the boxes in my attic, I will do that. But I also detox my body, my surroundings. Do I do the work that I want to do? Do I dare to take the decisions that really feel good? Things like that.
Yeah.
Then it will get easier to find situations in which you can relax and be nourished. So
yes. You know, trauma is an interesting thing. I know you work with a lot of people with trauma, and I know trauma can stay in the body and get trapped there. And there's a lot of body work that people have to go through. And I like that you pointed out the physical environment. I went through an accident. I was in the hospital, and when I came out, and I was at home recuperating. My mom's a nurse. She came and helped me. And one of the first things she did was clean up the environment, as far as like the, instead of looking like a sick person in this house, we're going to clean all the cards up and the balloons and the flowers and take off the hospital socks. And we're going to start thinking like a healthy person. And that really helped me kind of recuperate faster. It was just like, it was a ha-ha moment for me to not stay stuck in that trauma.
Yes, very good, very good. It's I like the approach of some specialists here in Europe, but it's not really accepted in the medical world because it defines illness in a different way. They say every time you get sick, you are healing. So
I like that.
Illness is before you get ill. So you're out of balance because of a situation or a trauma or an accident. But well, the accidents are different. So you break a leg, that's different. But with a lot of illnesses, it is the healing process that you call illness, but the illness occurred before because you suffered from a conflict. And most of the times it's a psychological conflict. So stress or an attack or being restricted can cause illnesses.
Yes.
And then the illness is a healing process. And when you then treat it as, oh, you're gonna die, or you're gonna get all of it. And indeed, it's very good that your mother took away all the balloons and the hospital socks and everything. Yeah, you're a normal person, you know, you're in the process of becoming healthy. That's beautiful. So you have to celebrate it.
Yes,
your body is doing the work for you. How nice.
Yes. Oh, that's such a positive message. And I hope if somebody's watching this and going through it, that something clicks for them in this moment, that they can heal faster and recover faster.
It's definitely really appreciating what your body is doing for you is a great approach.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So can we touch on the negative emotions that get trapped in our bodies, either put in from, toxic relationships or societal norms, just like negative things that get trapped? How do we help people get those bad emotions out so that they can clear them and be freer?
Well, I can only say what my approach is in this and how I work with it. And that's, in the first place, not call it negative.
Okay. Yeah. More neutral. Yeah.
So I say, okay, that is the experience. So let's see what it connected with in your body. So a circumstance, I say, okay, and someone changes his job and suddenly has colleagues that put him down, for instance. Well, that can then, he can associate that with experience he had as a child in school, for instance. So there is a memory there, nasty behavior of his schoolmates that's triggered now, and that causes him stress in the job. By just recognizing what has been a theme for him in the past already helps him to dissolve part of what's happening right now, right? So, but we're not taught to work with these kind of traumas. We are taught to say, no, you keep your mouth shut. You have to be strong and go on and make them. Well, no, I think we have to be balanced. And it means also allowing these kind of emotions to come to the surface again so they can be dealt with. And if you are able to just go back in your timeline to see where the roots are of a certain traumatic situation, then there's no positive or negative. There's just a calling. There's just a confrontation that says, are you aware of so-and-so? Are you aware of your gifts? Are you aware of your sensitivity? Are you aware of the fact that you were in the wrong company that wasn't really helping you doing the stuff that you want to do?
Yeah.
Then you can say, okay, and translate it now. But why am I working with these colleagues when I'd like to work there? And if you know what it's associated with, you don't have to face the fear that's connected with your past again and again and again. So you can clear that and say, okay, now I have a clear view of what's happening now, so I can change my point of view and say, hey, boss, I really am not producing the best work I can because I'm in that situation. Can we change that?
Excellent.
Right?
So
and then, of course, and that's the difficulty for healers, that there's a lot of things that are connected to our ancestors. So our ancestors dealt with traumas like war, death, illnesses, whatever.
Starvation,
that have never, and one of the biggest issues is abuse. That's the huge theme, huge trauma for a lot of people that has an effect on whole families. And I can track that back to, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4 generations before the person that I'm talking to. And if there is anything like that that happened in the past, it has an influence on, an effect on the person that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
So they might just be too afraid to connect to someone, for instance. But because their grandmother was abused. Okay, so again, really, let's say the source of your issues right now can be found somewhere where you didn't think of in the first place.
It really behooves you to kind of look at your family tree and look at it with maybe some clarity of intent so that you can dissect how it's affecting your own behaviors, attitudes, emotions. One emotion that's, like, I think really hard is the emotion of grief. And whatever you're grieving and going through. And a lot of people might be grieving a marriage that broke up, or grieving a loss of a loved one. You can't exactly go back on the timeline on that one. So how do you help your clients with that grief emotion?
That's funny that you say you cannot really track it.
Can you? Maybe you can.
Because to me, grief is also a sign of respect for what was.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I pay respect to a relationship that ended by grieving.
Yes.
And it's also respecting my own input in that relationship, my own attempt to be part of something beautiful. So I think grieving is a very beautiful thing. And I do see that thinking or undertaking a kind of ritual helps grieving. So that's what we do, you know, we put flowers on the grave of someone. It helps thinking of them, paying our respects, being grateful for the fact that they were alive, things like that. That's all helpful. But, you know, I got a candle burning here right now as well, because I want to respect the fact that you invited me to come and talk with you. So it's my thank you to the guides. For allowing this conversation to take place.
I feel so honored to talk to you. I mean, I've been, like I said, watching your channel, and you really speak to me as far as what your messages that you have like put out there. In particular, I noticed in some of your videos, you talk about go for it. You're telling people to go for it. And I love that. It's a simple message, and it's such a great reminder, because a lot of people are not going for it. Can you touch on why you really emphasize that?
It's funny because there are more people that say they like to be addressed. They say go for it, but it's, you know, you wouldn't say, but I'm pretty hesitant normally. I can doubt myself a lot, you know, and
we
then it was such a help when someone said to me, well, just go for it. You know, do it, fail, learn to fail.
Yes.
And just make that stupid mistake and enjoy it. You know, we're here to live a life, not to wait till life comes and gets us.
Yeah.
So yes, in that respect, I mean, I like myself saying, go for it, because it's indeed, it's getting you just over the threshold. It's saying, okay, step into another space and enjoy having the adventure, running the risks, you know, whatever. And I've said that before. The moment, I mean, I've been in really like challenging situations, and what kept me going, and it was also a revelation that was really given to me, is that the only thing that can happen is that you die. Then what? Is that so bad? You've done it many times before.
You mean not physically, but there's like a part of you, you know, a thought process that dies, a habit that dies, a belief that dies. Those are things that give you new life, that can give you that, you know, impetus to go for it.
Yes, yes. And that's also like a dying, you give compost to the earth with everything that dies. Right? So you nurture the earth with letting things go. And to me, it was like, okay, I can die. So why not live now?
Yep.
And then, you know, it helps me to, that especially in challenging times, it gave me the courage to say, okay, I'll go for it.
Yeah. I mean, if this is not the perfect time for anybody that has like a dream or a wish or a goal to go for it, this is like the time just telling you to go for it.
Yes. Well, and that brings me to the other point, is that it's very important for everyone to realize that they count. Every individual is important. So when you, with your willingness to become aware of yourself, your self-value, and also are able to really observe what's happening, you're contributing to allowing another society to come into existence. So every individual counts.
Yes.
And to me, that's a very important thing to share as well.
Very good. So we're coming to the end here. Do you have some like encouraging words or final thoughts that you would like to share with the viewers?
Ooh, do I have to pick one?
Whatever is calling for you.
Well, validating yourself as a human being, indeed, it's a very important thing to start with. With everything it means to you. So dare to step away from shame and guilt, because most of shame and guilt are rooted in other people's history, not in yours. So get rid of that luggage and allow yourself to go for it and enjoy the fact that you have a life.
Yes.
And the situation has never been this transforming as it is now. But the more people that dare to take part in it and really show themselves, the faster it can happen, the happier we will be.
Yes.
So,
excellent.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Oh, thank you, Mirjam. It's been just a joy to talk to you, and I felt so honored to have you on my channel, and I can't wait to share this with my audience, and I hope you get more people coming to your channel, because there's definitely a lot of junk on YouTube out there, and there's a lot of good stuff, and you're definitely some good stuff that people need. Your channel needs to blow up, and your message needs to really get out there.
Sorry.
No worries.
I noticed that it helps people to feel good about themselves. The fact that I make these videos like you do with your videos. And I'm thinking about doing courses also on Zoom to assist some people in going through these processes. So that's in my agenda for the coming month.
That's fantastic. Is that something you're going to hopefully have come out this year?
Yes, yes. Yeah,
fantastic.
I'm working on it, but I have some technical difficulties here I have to overcome. But that's my challenge. Yes.
Oh, that would be so awesome. I know you have a newsletter, and people can come to your website to sign up for that and be alerted to what all of the new things that you have going on.
Yeah, the newsletter is still only in Dutch. But
I signed up for it.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, good for you. But I'm working on an English version as well. But I lack time. There's only 24 hours in a day. Maybe I should learn to touch that as well. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
Can you give me one Dutch word that I can take with me?
Gaan.
Pan? Is that
gaan.
peace? Han?
Oh, gaan. Gaan. Go. It means go.
Go. Han?
Gaan.
Han.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to Han and in this conversation, which I've really enjoyed. And if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to share and subscribe and hit the bell to be alerted to when the next video drops. Thank you, Mirjam.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you.